What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up?
What's going on? So welcome to, I think I'll call this season 4 because we're going to change the format. So in the past, we've been breaking each topic into its own episode. However, I'm trying to experiment. So we're going to just release it all in one chunk, just like we do on the radio. So if you listen to us on your podcast platform of choice or 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area or TuneIn app anywhere, you can listen to us. And then channel 10 in the DC Fairfax area, you all getting the same thing. So we're going to try this out and see how it works out. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
You got to call them like Marvel phases, man. That's what we're gonna do here. Like you said, season 4.
Yeah, we're in phase 4.
Phase 4. But anyway, this article comes from bleepingcomputer.com by Lawrence Abrams, and the title of this one is "New ServiceNow Flaw Lets Attackers Enumerate Restricted Data." All right, so there was a vulnerability in ServiceNow, right? It's dubbed Counterstrike, and so what this allowed for was that users with lower privilege access were able to extract sensitive data from tables, right? So what was happening was they had ACLs, and there were 4 different conditions that needed to be met, right? So the way that they wanted this to work was you had to have to access a specific role, you had to have required roles, security attributes, data conditions, and script conditions, right? So it makes sense, right? You want somebody to have all 4 of those things to be able to access whatever data is on there, right? Like it's the separation of duties and roles. But what was happening was people were getting limited access if you met the role of one of the ACLs or if you satisfied one of the conditions of the ACLs, right? So what was happening was, let's say you didn't have the required role, security attribute, or data conditions, but you had script conditions, right? If you had that, it would allow certain access, right? And from there, you could enumerate to get more information, right? It's kind of like it's data creep to where you can get access to things you weren't supposed to have access to, right? Which is kind of surprising to me, right? Because like the way I think about it when it comes to giving people permissions is almost everything out there does a deny all, which it's supposed to do as well, right? Like if you can't meet the condition, it's going to deny. You're not going to get ease of access that way. But that wasn't happening here. And so what ended up happening was, like I said, people were gaining access. Well, let me not say people were getting access to it, right? But the folks that were over here testing this, they were gaining access, and then they started to enumerate to get access to different things based off having access to the one ACL, right? So this is kind of scary, right? Because you would think we'd be past this at this point, right? Like when software is created, it's almost, like I said, it's almost always a deny all is your default, right? Again, which is supposed to be here. But Varonis was the company that tested this out. They even have screenshots here where they show how they successfully enumerated data records from a table, right? Which had limited access to it. So this is a little scary, right? Because getting people access to these things for this platform, right? Because this is an ITSM, right? So IT service management tool, enter or management. I don't remember which one it is, but ITSM tool, right? So if you're doing help desk tickets or doing like account management, things of that nature, that's what this is supposed to do. So you definitely want to not have this be what is going on, is allowing limited access to things like this, right? So they've addressed the attack now, right? So it's one of those holes that's closed up. Now the ACLs have a deny unless attribute to them, right? So what it means is that you have to pass everything in the data set, right? So all 4 of those conditions have to be met now, right? Which I'm guessing they assumed was happening in the initial implementation, but apparently it was not. So yeah, so you should still, like customers, when you're setting this up, right, you need to manually review your tables and modify your ACL. So just leave them standard as well, right? Don't do that with how it comes. You have to adjust it accordingly and put your own conditions in to be able to get access. But yeah, this is kind of crazy in this day and age that this can happen. Like I said, with how software is created and using the deny all. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I found this one very interesting just because of how many people use ServiceNow or Snow, whatever you call it within your own enterprise. But I forgot now because of the new format, I should probably state upfront the topic. So ServiceNow is the first topic which we're covering. Topic 2 will be North American APT uses Exchange 0-day to attack China, which I found very interesting. And then the discussion will be the McDonald's AI recruiting platform and how it was how it had a security flaw and exposed millions of records. So please tune in throughout the entire podcast to hear all the above, because again, we're just sending it all out in one chunk. Also, the guide is out. So the other side of the firewall, uh, the uh, the guide dropped on July 8th. It's already out there in the wild. People are buying it. I'm waiting for feedback. More, I'll get all that excitement because people have to read it before they leave me feedback. So if you have a copy, please leave an Amazon review, no matter where you got it from. That would be very grateful for SEO and to make it surface, as well as, if you don't have it, go ahead and buy it. Like, greatly appreciated. So wherever ebooks are sold, you either go to theothersideofthefirewall.com, where you can buy the paperback at a discount from yours truly, or you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, everywhere to pick up your copy, Walmart, so on and so forth. But back on topic. Sorry about that. No, I found it interesting again because so many people use ServiceNow, whether it be for their trouble tickets or there's a GRC module within there as well, right? So there's a lot of potential data to be exposed by breaching ServiceNow when it comes to your trouble tickets, your change management. Like use it as your cab, right? Change advisory board to save tickets and things of that nature. Because a lot of changes are done via ticket, right? So okay, we're going to make a change to enterprise. We need to track it. Let's put it in as a ticket. But then again, as a governance, risk, and compliance tool, because it has that module within it, you can also expose a lot of data when it comes to we have these vulnerabilities. This is how we mitigate them, or this is how our risk appetite is set up, and we have not mitigated these vulnerabilities because they're so low on the totem pole. There's way too much data to be exposed, so I'm glad they figured this out. I'm relatively new to uh, working with companies with ServiceNow because of the military use Remedy, right? So same thing. So if you're in the DoD, Remedy is very similar to ServiceNow. I'm sure the UI is different, but they're pretty much all built similarly, right? Just depends on which side of are you in the DIB, are you outside of the DIB, and how it's basically wedged into your enterprise because it also has the ability to integrate with other tools and software because it's so I want to say homogenous, but it's not. It's just so well purchased. What's the phrase I'm looking for here? It's popular. There it is. Yeah. So a lot of people are using ServiceNow. So I'm glad they figured out this flaw. I'm not exactly sure how long ServiceNow has been out because I'm like that is a flaw that you think they would have figured out many moons ago. However, just stress testing, QA, things of that nature. Finally, somebody stumbled across it. Hopefully, they got a pretty big bug bounty for it. But yeah, they discovered this way back in February, and now we're just now learning about it. So it probably took a little while to fix. So then that dips to your vulnerability management, right? That's right.
So it was actually February 2024, right? So in the article, they initially had February 2025, and they talked about how they had to fix it. And it's February 2024, which was odd because the CVE they assigned to it is from this year. It was 2025. So I'm like, okay, well, I thought February 2025, and then I read that I was like, wait a minute, February 2024, you discovered this? How did it go this long before it got reported, right? But yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. So again, like check to see like if you're working with ServiceNow, like probably if you have like a rep that works with you, they're already helping you to patch and mitigate. However, for those mom and pops that may be using it, like hopefully you've developed a patch management schedule. If not, then there's something you should definitely look into. Like, I use ServiceNow for whatever X, Y, or Z. You should probably double check to make sure that it is being patched. Perhaps you have like I don't know, a B2B type situation, like maybe you're able to subscribe to ServiceNow to some extent, then they'll be patched on their end. But if you have your own instance of it, then you should probably look into to make sure you have the most up-to-date patches when it comes to ServiceNow. So,
And to be clear, this is more prevalent with your insider threat situation, right? It's not a matter of people from the outside getting in. I'm not saying that can't happen, right? If someone gains access to the system, creates an account, and then they can go and they can just creep that way. But for the most part, this is people that are already inside your organization. But even then, you have separation of duties and different roles that people do in your.
yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. So yeah, we can move on to topic two. With that being said, go buy the guide, The Other Side of the Firewall, where books are sold. If it's not on your store shelf when you go there, you demand it. You say, hey, this is a popular book, all right, around the world. We need this book on the shelves. So I greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This next article comes from darkreading.com, written by Nate Nelson. And the title of this one is North American APT uses Exchange zero-day to attack China, right? So we always hear the stories where it's, Russia, North Korea, or China. They have APTs that are out there attacking people, right? But nobody ever thinks, well, let me not say nobody ever thinks, because if you're in China, North Korea, Russia, you're thinking about American APTs. But with what we report, it's always the other way around, right? But it's kind of foolish to think that it's not happening, going both ways. But turnabout is fair play, right? That's what's going on. They report it as a Western advanced persistent threat, and the reason they kind of tied it to this is because they look at the time frame, like from it's kind of weird when I read this in the article. They said that the majority of the action seems to be happened from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, right? So they're like, okay, it's got to be either Canada or the United States, the west coast of the United States, right? They're like, this is who we attribute it to because of the activity and the time frame that is happening, which was kind of funny. But no, so they've dubbed this the Night Eagle Group, which leads me to believe they think it's America, right? Bald eagles.
I love that. I love that because we always say like jade for certain countries or bears
Yes.
for Russia. Like they gave us the eagle nomenclature.
I saw that and I was like, yeah, you think it's us. You think it's us. Yeah, Night Eagle Group, or APTQ-95, right, is what they've dubbed the threat actor. But yeah, they're exploiting Microsoft Exchange to steal Chinese intel, right? So again, this is not something new that's out there, right? Like we've actually done stories on the show where we've talked about us being an APT going to other nations, right? Look, us being more offensive. It was happening more in the previous administration, but it looks like it's not. And this could be something that's just been ongoing for a while. That's just been continuing throughout the years, right? I'm not going to automatically assume it started in this administration, the current American administration, but it is not a new thing, right? So you gotta be careful out there, right? So Microsoft is like, hey, we don't see anything that shows that this is specific to us or anything that we need to do. But yeah, we've been exploiting it, right? It's not like you're immune to this, right? And this is 0 day, right? So it's not like it's something that's been out there that was reported that just hasn't been getting fixed, right? The 0 days are those things that's like, hey, this pops up all of a sudden, it gets exploited, right? For good, bad, or indifferent. But yeah, I mean, we have these APT entities that are in America, right? You got your NSAs, you got your FBIs, right? Your CISAs, your Cyber Command. You got these different entities that actually do this out there. So it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise that this is actually happening. But yeah, we perform offensive cyber operations, right? And this one actually targeted China's semiconductor and AI businesses, right? So kind of the big stuff that's in the news in this day and age, right? When it comes to AI and semiconductors, defense industry was also one of the things that was targeted with this, right? So this shouldn't come as too much of a surprise because we've seen it in the past where American entities that kind of deal in this have had some successes, right? And they kind of reference it in the article a little bit of varying degrees of success when it came to, I don't know if anybody remembers, it was a terrorist event out in, I believe it was California. There was the two people in the street that were committing terrorist acts and they were trying to get into their iPhone. Right. And so
I
Apple
do
was
remember
like,
that. Yeah.
no, yeah. Yeah. So like the FBI, I believe it was the FBI that actually figured out a way to crack it. Right. So we have ways to go and make this happen. Right. Um, we've had numerous instances of the government going out there and uh, gaining access to things that don't necessarily belong to them. I'm gonna say it like that, right? I don't want to be too crazy, but yeah. So this isn't new. The fact that we're doing it to China or Russia or North Korea or whomever shouldn't surprise anybody. But yeah, Microsoft, hey, got a 0 day out there. We're gonna exploit it because think about this: Microsoft widely used around the world, right? It's not like they're not used like across the globe. And when you have a large organization like that, like Microsoft, and that is widely used like that, you have to know you're going to be a target, or let me not say a target, but an attack vector for other nations, right? To include us. Like, it's just how it is, right? With Microsoft, Outlook is used everywhere. Right. Very seldom do you see people not using it. So just know it's out there. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I found it interesting because it's hilarious to me that they named it something with an eagle. I was thinking either eagle or Uncle Sam or something like that, right? Like when you think US. But the second part being I wonder how they strike the balance, right? So we're US entity, doing cyber operations or what have you, using an attack vector that's an American company, right? So I know Microsoft can't be in the know because then they have to patch, right? They have to do the due diligence. because they're like, we don't want to be used in that regard. I would think. So how is the balance between reporting and not reporting? Because you don't want U.S. companies to be susceptible to this 0 day as well, but you're not doing offensive operations on U.S. entities. You're doing it against foreign entities. So I wonder, when do you report and when do you, because like usually the FBI, NSA, and CISA report these things to these companies to make sure it can't be used against U.S. Entities, and it's a U.S. company as well. So when do you report? When do you report and when don't you report? Because you use this as an attack vector to, whether it be to steal government secrets or to, lay backdoors and traps or whatever you're using it for. It's just that would be a weird balance to me.
Yeah, but you can't sit there and not do anything about it, right? So like, and we've talked about this before on the podcast where we talk about giving specific timelines when vulnerabilities are discovered or when the companies need to fix them. But I get that, for them, it's a bad look, right? Because even, like I said, even in this one, they did. Let me not say they said they didn't have a problem. They were like, we don't know of any vulnerabilities to date, but we're going to investigate. Is kind of the
Right.
tack they took, right? So it's not like they're denying it, like I initially stated. I don't want to say it like that, but they're like, yeah, we're investigating it, right? But that's kind of how it goes with 0 days, right? You look into it and it comes quickly, right? Like gets exploited out there in the wild, and that's what happens. But usually it's not to this degree to where it's used from a nation state, right? To where
Right.
they're utilizing it. So
Yeah, somebody was sitting there rubbing their hands together, like, "Oh, this is a good one." And but what's the time between when you light the fuse to when you report? It's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Like, we're trying to get as much out of it as we can, but we still have to do our due diligence in this case to report to Microsoft and say, "Hey, you got a hole here that may have been exploited." You're like, "Wait a minute." So it just it's weird in that regard. But hey, like you said, turnabout is fair play. So all the nation states are doing it to some extent. So what will make you think that the U.S. is not doing it? And plus, we had that huge breach with the NSA tools that were deemed like weapons of mass destruction, right? We did like the Ocean 11 heist, and they stole a bunch of NSA tools that are out there in the wild now. So we know our government does it probably some of the best at doing it. So go America. Yeah, when you're using the world's like they're literally the world's largest software developer, right? When it comes to operating systems and Office, is where they make their money. So yeah, when do you report to them to say, hey, there's a hole over here. You should probably patch.
obviously, after you've already exploited it, right?
Right. So very, very interesting. Very, very sneaky. I like it. Spy versus spy type stuff. But yeah, I
And again,
oh,
they're a
go ahead,
trillion
Ken.
dollar they're a trillion dollar company. So we've also talked about when it comes to public trust, right? So like I get what you're saying in that you do still want to be careful, right? Because if it's a constant thing where it's always, man, Microsoft is always having issues, this, that, and the third, then it's like, do I really want to use this product? Like what else is out there, right? Even though this is 95% of what people are utilizing out there and what people are using. You don't want to lose the public trust to where it's like your $1 trillion company falls back into the billions, right? Feel bad for them, right? For their
Right, right.
valuation.
They crying to their big bags of money, which is always crazy to me. Like Microsoft has a stranglehold on the world when it comes to the operating system and productive tools, whatever you want to call those.
Production. I think you had it right first.
Yeah, your Excels and PowerPoints and what have you. They make a lot of money. So people are like, oh, Xbox is gonna be shuttered. Like, no, they can feed Xbox all they want to. I just don't think they necessarily, they're a software company. They don't care about hardware, right? So, but that's a whole different argument. We can talk about that later. Like but mixing the late game stuff with these articles. So without further ado, I'd give it to Shannon for our discussion.
All right, everybody. So this one comes from techradar.com, and this one is written by Siad Fatapashik. And the title of this one is McDonald's AI recruiting platform had a really embarrassing security flaw, and it left millions of users open to attack. So I don't necessarily want to call this a security flaw. I mean, I guess technically it falls under the security flaw arrangement, but what they had was they had this AI when it came to applying for a job there called McHire, right? Because everything at McDonald's has to start with Mc, right? MC, whatever, right? McNuggets, right? McDouble, has to start with the Mc, right? But what ended up happening was to log into their back end, it seems like it had a very easily guessable password, which was 12345 6, right? One of those standards out there. And here's the thing. This is one of those where for years they've been saying don't use 12345 Don't use password. Don't use QWERTY, like the keyboard, QWERTY. This is one of those, and they said that they got this on the second attempt. Like they were just, out there playing around, right? And the second attempt they tried, the first one was admin, right? Which people usually do, right? Username, password, admin. But the second time out, 12345 in both fields. So like the username was 12345 password was 12345 and then boom, they got access, right? So, but in doing this, they stated that they had access to 64 million different, was it like applications, right? Like cover letters, applications, some of them with information. Like, and the reason this is kind of important, right? Like there was more than likely no PII. They state there's no PII in there like that, right? But what it had in there was emails, right? Possible addresses, right? Like if you're doing cover letters and resumes and things of that nature, right? Those different things can be used later on, right? The second and third order effects we always talk about from this, right? So if they have that information, they could start doing phishing emails, right? Especially if you applied to McDonald's for this job through McHire, right? It's one of those things where it can look official when it comes back, right? Spoof a domain, spoof an email to come back from McDonald's, say, yeah, we're considering, we just need this information from you. And in this climate where people are constantly looking for jobs, right? It's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm excited now, right? I got the call back or the email back or whatever. And then you just start supplying information without really thinking the security aspect of it, right? The 64 million the sensitive data for the 64 million people that they say that they got, and that's a lot of people, right? But it is McDonald's. It's like one on every corner.
Yeah, 2 billion served a day or something, right?
Is that really the case? 2 billion
Yeah, I think they
served a
said
day?
like 2 billion served a day. Yeah.
Okay, all right, man. That's good for them. Good for them. But they said that this wasn't everybody that's applied, right? 64 million. They're saying is not all of them, which that's a big number in itself. But that many
Yes, that's
records.
good enough.
Yeah, exactly, right. Because think about that, right? Like even with people that are doing it, right, it's not necessarily like it's all managers or anything like that. These are the young kids that their life could be ruined right off the bat when they start getting fished, right? They start giving up because they may not. And here's the thing. I'm not going to say they may not be smart enough to not fall for this, right? But because children today are way more tech savvy than we used to be, right? Like when I was applying for jobs at 15, 16 years old, right? I didn't have nearly the wherewithal to know about technology that I do today, right? Granted,
Right.
technology is not as advanced as it is today either, right? But
Right. But yeah, but you're catching them at their because I don't like to say it's their first job, right? It was my first job, but some people make a career out of McDonald's. So I'm not trying to knock anybody. But they haven't even gone through the process of learning cyber awareness, right? If they didn't catch it somehow before, then yeah, you get that text from McDonald's, you're excited. Like, oh man, my summer job is hitting me up. And it's not. It's not a
exactly.
summer job.
Yeah, and the excitement of it just, it can be disheartening for some, right? Like if you get caught up with that. But yeah, these companies need to do better with stuff like this, right? Especially when you're a huge organization like McDonald's. Like I know you have cybersecurity and IT departments that are there to do better than this, than 12345 being your username and password, right? Like, and here's the thing. I could understand if maybe this was what you did before the setup and it went live, right? But this went live with one, two,
Yeah,
three, four.
this was you building in the back end, but when you flipped to production, someone should have got the memo.
Yes, 100%. And look, I say that from experience, right? I say that from experience, like, where we have set stuff up in the background and been like, okay, let's just do this real quick, right? It's going to be gum and gum, whatever it may be, right? But with the DoD, it's a little bit different, right? Because once you start stigging and once you start putting it out there live to the community, there's certain requirements that need to be met anyway when it comes to passwords, right? This long with this many characters or this many different types of characters, but
Yeah, DoD is ridiculous. 30 characters, uppercase, lowercase, special character, can't repeat. You be like, yo, I can't think of anything.
but it is secure. Like even though we sit here and we say this, right? Now what it leads to, like in instances like that, right, is people writing stuff down, right? Like even when I do my IA training, I tell them, I'm like, look, if I see a sticky on your monitor and it's got uppercase, lowercase, number, special character, it's 20 characters long, I know what that is, right? Don't do that. Okay. Even when it comes to password hints, your password hint can't be, this is my password. You know what I mean? Like, don't do dumb stuff like that. But yeah, these companies have to take better attention to doing these types of things, especially when it comes to McDonald's, right? It's not like you're rushing to get this out there because you're trying to beat other competition. Like you're kind of the top of the game when it comes to your field, right? If you're not number one, you're number two. right? Even if you fall to number 3, yeah, your investors may not like it, but you're still not hurting, right? When
If
there's
you're not first, you're
billions,
last.
I guess so. Ricky Bobby like, right? Bobby like, right? But yeah, they got to do a better job of not allowing these type of things to happen. And this is kind of embarrassing for an organization of this size, right? Like McDonald's is not small. It's not a little mom and pop shop that can't spring for, you know, the cyber or the IT department. Like this is a little bit embarrassing, but they got to do better. But what's your thoughts on this, right?
Yeah, I honestly think it was just that we're building, they call their AI chatbot Olivia. So they're building Olivia. They needed to, just put something simple because it was still in development. And then before they flipped it to production, I would assume someone would have said, hey, make sure you change the username and password after your first attempt or whatever. But there was no rules set to force the password change, right? So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they kept it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so someone's going to test it. That is the one universal rule of anything attached to the internet. Someone is going to try you. It's just the way it is. Like when I used to work in Virginia with Shannon, we would see people uh, hit our firewalls all the time. Like you'd see like attempts, right? Probes all the time. Sometimes it was companies that worked for the DoD. Sometimes it was companies that were trying to steal information. But you would see it. You would see it hit the firewall. You would see it hit some of the external boundary, and then you'd have to observe and report. I think it went to the 33rd or something like that.
At the time, it was the 33rd. I don't think they're
Yeah.
a 33rd NWS anymore, but yeah.
Got you. But yeah, and then you never knew if it was real or not. So it could have just been exercise. But regardless, anything connected to the internet is going to get tested. And in this case, it was fairly simple. They second attempt, right? Oh, admin doesn't work. Next, we're going to try 1 through 6. Boom, we're in. And now they have access to people's, first and last names, their addresses. I don't know if you put socials on applications anymore. Maybe, but if not, then you're at least getting first, last, phone numbers, addresses, things that could be used in multi-factor authentication, email addresses, and they're able to do their man in the middles. They're able to do phishing attacks on these individuals. Also, this chatbot Olivia did personality tests. So who's to say what that could be used for in the future, right? I've done a personality inventory, but I did it for the DoD, so it was probably way more intense than McDonald's, or not. I don't know what McDonald's is up to nowadays. But when I did it for the DoD, depending on the information, some people were asked to leave after they did the personality test, right? Like, does that mean they're a psychopath? I don't know, but you can glean a lot from a personality test, Rorschach test, things of that nature. And I'm going to have a guest on in the next couple of weeks. Friend of the podcast, Alan Wesley, who's actually in the guide as well. So make sure you cop the guide, The Other Side of the Firewall. You can buy it pretty much everywhere. Go to theothersideofthefirewall.com. Get it from me at a discount, or you go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Walmart, all the above. But he's coming on to talk about I can't remember how he phrases it, but to not be too reductive, I say brain privacy, right? What advertisers are able to glean from your search history, as well as your habits and your use of AI and things of that nature, all put together can determine your thought processes, what you want to purchase, where you're going to go, where you're going to travel. So there's a whole nother level of cyber that's now starting to develop around cognition, because it's able to predict patterns and movement and things of that nature. So could that be gleaned from this personality test? Who's to say, right? It's just you have to think about what the future holds. What can this information morph into as time progresses? And now they have the personality inventory of 64 million people, right? So what can they use that for? Who's to say?
Blackmail, more than likely.
Right.
Here's what you have to think about, right? So, like, when it comes to stuff like this in this day and age, this is something that can be used 30 years down the line when you're running for political office or something like that, right? It's like when you were 16, McDonald's said you were a psychopath. Why should we make you our comptroller, right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, you never know. You honestly never know. So yeah, it's unfortunate, and that scale, like even though more than 64 million people probably apply for McDonald's every year, or it could be every month. I don't know. Like McDonald's was my first job, so that's actually where I met my wife, right? So we met at McDonald's, started dating. It's like the whole love story. Like, McDonald's, if you like to sponsor me and my family, give us McDoubles for the rest of our lives, let me know. I'll tell the story of First job leads to a great life of why you pick a fence. I'll tell a story. Put me in a commercial. Was it ba 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 ba? I can do that. I'll practice. But and but in all seriousness, like when it comes to volume, 64 million is a lot of people. So they got a lot of data that can be used against people for years to come, right? Like you said, that might be your first job, you're 15, 16 applying to McDonald's, they can target you in your 30s. Here's another phishing attempt, right? To try to steal your information. Or if you give information, right? Like what if there's another, not to give the bad guys an idea, but they're already pretty sophisticated as it is. But to say, what is this as a phased approach? First, they get in contact with you, they, get that report going, and then ask you for your social security number. You're naive enough to give it to them. So now they're, stealing your credit, good, fresh credit at that, right? Earlier on in your life. So there's a lot of implications and bad things that could happen because of this breach. So I'll be interested to see how it uh, kind of evolves in the future because we're still talking about 23andMe. That's still a thing, right? From that breach, and that just continuously evolves over time, and how that's being used. So interesting stuff.
It's crazy is when you were mentioning earlier, people were asked to leave for the popularity, not the popularity, the personality test. It made me think of To Catch a Predator. Like, do you know whether or not they walked out and then police like grabbed them up and like detained? Did you ever see those?
Like in a hallway.
Yeah. Did you ever see those people again? Like, I'm kind of curious, right?
No, it was just a room of strangers. I was not to give too much away, but I was working for an entity that does personality testing before you go, but they're also looking through your social media. So it could have been a combination of both. It could have, or either or, right? They could have found something about you on the internet that could be used against you. So we don't want you're not a good candidate because then you become an insider threat, right? If you get uh, hemmed up, or it could be that you're not a good psychological fit for one of the teams we were thinking about assigning you to because of maybe you're too loosey goosey with the morals, or maybe you're too rigid, and that's not going to work, or X, Y, and Z. I just know people's names will pop up because we're like in a forum situation. People's names will pop up on the screen, and they have to go talk to someone. Some of them came back, but 99% of them didn't come back. You got released back to your service. It's like Men in Black. Remember the Men in Black when he was getting ready? It was kind of like that. I was like, yo, this is wild. But yeah, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot about a person based upon a personality test. So just interesting to see how that's used for and against you. I don't know. We'll see. Be the big Mick Hire scandal in the near future. Yeah, so definitely we'll come back to this because I think this is pretty interesting. So, but yeah, definitely check out the future episodes. So it'll probably come out in August, but it'll be with me and Alan Wesley on the Ask a CISSP episode of the podcast, talking about mind privacy, brain privacy, and things of that nature. But yeah, let's get to it. So typically it's for the episode of its own, but we like to do the weekly rundown, right? It's like, what did you do this week or last week, or because we took a holiday break. And what your future plans are, games, books, movies, all that good stuff. Without further ado, Shannon, how was your week?
Man, I won't complain, man. Last couple weeks actually were pretty good. We went out and did a little mini vacation again. So this time we took my oldest son. So the first time we went a little farther up north, did the water park, and I stayed the night. Like, it's one of those things where I tell people, and I'm only semi kidding, like I can only drive like 2 hours at a time, and then I need to get out of the vehicle, right? So the place we were going was about 2 hours away. And then if I go there, I'm out in the water park, sun's beating down on me, right? I'm like, I'm not driving back home. I'm like, we're just gonna stay in a hotel to do something for the night and then just come home in the morning, refreshed. It was a fun time. Children enjoyed it. For my younger two, that was 2 weeks in a row for them, so they were definitely loving it. My oldest son, we went on a day that he was not working, so to include him, I just feel bad when I don't include my children that can make it happen. You know what I
Right.
mean? Whenever the possibility is there. So, went and did it again. You know what I mean? To them, life is good, right? People. I had somebody ask me the other day. They were like, they were asking about the family and whatnot. And I was like, oh, they got nothing to complain about, right? My wife has me as a husband. My children have me as a father, right? So they have nothing to complain about.
Right.
So I chuckled when I said it, but I was like, man, that probably came off like I was joking somewhat, maybe. I don't know. But they were probably like, man, this dude is so full of himself. You know what I mean? It was a joke. But No, it was a good time. What else did we do? I've been watching. I've been watching a little bit of media, right? So I watched Man of Steel. So for those of you that may not know, so this was the weekend that Superman was released. We may get into that in a little bit. We'll see if one of the two of us has seen it. I will tell you that I have not. But I watched Man of Steel. Right, I'm just trying to get back into it to be like, okay, what were we watching? I'll probably watch the old ones even, right? Like the old Christopher Reeves ones, because I'm sure there will be some references, right? Because James Gunn does a good job of kind of tying back to older things and to keeping to some original content and whatnot, right? So
Right.
was it you that sent me the thing about the glasses? Like why nobody
Yeah,
recognized them?
yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
did not know that. Yeah.
I never knew, right? So like the property of the glasses, apparently it's the glass from the spaceship he was sent in, and it has a hypnotic property to humans, right? So they can't recognize him when until he takes the glasses off. Because I've for years people have been like, how do you not know that's Superman? Like you see him in the news all the time. The guy does interviews, right? How do you not know who it is? But apparently that's a thing.
A
But
dumb
James,
thing.
yeah,
Again, he is the dumbest character. He's overpowered. Now his hypno glasses. He's susceptible to magic. Get out of here.
as
Get
everyone would be, right?
out of here. And the radioactive surface of his own planet, right? Like his planet makes him sick because it's radioactive.
Well, it's because we can't. Okay, we're not going to debate this, right? We ain't got time to debate this. But he's become used to the human atmosphere, right? So it's just like in Man of Steel, how when he gets back onto the ship, like for those of you that have seen it, when he gets used to Krypton's atmosphere again, right? His body has to adjust again, right? And he starts coughing up blood and whatnot. He's become used to Earth's atmosphere, right? He suffered when he got here too. It was difficult for him as a baby. He couldn't breathe. Martha had to watch over him. Everybody knows this, right? This is
Everybody knows this.
everybody knows. But so yeah, I mean, I plan on seeing the new one. The first weekend though, I was like, man, it's probably gonna be so packed in there. I'm not probably not gonna venture out that first weekend, but it's something I want to see. Netflix has this series called Trainwreck. It's called Trainwreck, and then they go and they talk about different it's different documentaries for different events that have happened, right? So they got one that's called Trainwreck, and it's called Poop Cruise. It's the cruise liner that had the fire and they lost electricity and like they were kind of stranded.
Right.
I haven't watched that one yet. It's in my queue, but the one I did watch was called American Apparel. So American Apparel was a clothing company that my wife and I did not know anything about. So it was called Trainwreck American Apparel, and like apparently it was like a big thing. Like they were coming up hot. But the owner was very problematic. I will say that very problematic to where when he went public, the board got him up out of there with some of the stuff that was coming down from him. But like I said, my wife and I didn't even know what it was. Again, it had to be popular, right? Like they showed in the documentary, there were some SNL skits, you know what I mean, on it and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, well, if SNL got a hold of it, then it was a big deal.
Yeah, I've heard of the company. I didn't know there was a scandal
Yeah,
about it.
never even. You're way ahead of us. You're ahead of us because I was like, I don't know what that is, American Apparel, but I watched it. And like it seems like they're coming out with one of these every week, where there's another documentary on what was going on. It's called Trainwreck. It's pretty funny. Yeah, watched that. I started playing Madden again because man, I shouldn't have done it, but I went ahead and
I say
pre-ordered
the
it
new one is about to drop, right?
in August, and I
Yeah.
pre-ordered it, and I'm just like, oh, why did I do it? I'm like, it's because it's the only thing out there. I do it every year. There was only 1 year I did not get it. There was 1 year, and it was because they had like a 7-day trial, and I played it, and I was like, this is hot garbage. And it's crazy because it was when Lamar was on the cover, right? So it was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I'm a Ravens fan. Like that should have been what I got, right? You know what I mean? But I was like, this is absolutely terrible. So I didn't get it, but every other year for like the last 20 plus years though it's been something I get but did that. What else did I watch? That's probably pretty much it. Good Place. I don't know if you ever seen the TV series A Good Place. I'd seen it before years
I've seen
ago.
the thumbnail. Like it's like they're like in heaven or hell or purgatory or something. Is that it?
You gotta watch
You
it to
gotta
see.
watch it.
You
Yeah.
gotta watch it to see it. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, but I watched that again. Like I said, it had been years since I seen it, and I was like, oh man, this is kind of interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man. What about you? What you been up to?
Actually, surprisingly, I got a lot of content in. So I did see Superman. So I'll talk about that last. But still playing the video game, Expedition 33. I'm at the end. I'm the second last boss is beating my butt. My reflexes are trash. So I'm trying to brute force my way through. So I'm going through and I'm grinding. Right. I'm in the world. I'm getting my level up. So I think I'm at like I'm in the 50s. So when I fought him the first time, I was in the 30s. So I'm just trying to get to like either the 60s or 70s and go back and hopefully mop him is the goal. Because he was killing me in like 2 hits. He's a beast. So playing that, enjoying it. What else am I playing? I downloaded another game called Jusant. I think it's French for like rising tide or something like that, or something to do with rising. But it's a game where you're climbing, right? So it doesn't have any story really. Like you just show up to a mountain and it's time to start climbing. So I started doing that, and it's kind of one of those games you play to unwind, right? So it's got like cool atmosphere, cool music. I don't know why I'm climbing a mountain, but the mechanics are fairly simple, where the triggers are your right, left hand, and you just have to figure out as you're climbing it becomes a puzzle, right? Like, how do I get from point A to point B? Like, do I need to cross my hands? Like, you have like grip strength and stuff like that. And as you go up, I forget what they call it, but like you anchor yourself in. So you can gamble. I'm not going to anchor myself into this one because I'm anchored into that one. It's easier to get over here. But if I fall, I'm going to fall several, feet or meters down and have to climb my way back up to where I was at last time. So it's kind of cool. Definitely something to unwind. My wife immediately left. She got super bored because I was just climbing. But it's one of those things to take your mind off of them.
So is the music in French as well? Like, is there words or is it just all
It's just
it's just
atmosphere.
instrumental? Okay.
Yeah, instrumental. But so yeah, I guess I'm playing two French games. Expedition 33 is very French, and it does have words. It's all in French. And even though I'm playing with English audio, they'll sometimes drop French sayings, right? Or like curse words and stuff like that. I guess I'm in that mood. I'm in a French, like I don't know, like they're like satirical and very poignant and lots of passionate.
So for everybody out there, if you start hearing "Sacre Bleu" every so often,
You're
come out,
right.
you'll know what's going on here. He's
I come out
explaining
here in a beret with a striped shirt.
eating croissants.
Yeah, eating croissants, a baguette in the background. I don't know. Paris was dope. Like when I went to Paris, like the food was amazing. I want to go back, but I went during the winter time, so I was told that was the cheat code because it's a very populated city like a New York or whatever. So it's like dirty, but it was pristine when I was there. But that's because fresh falling snow. It was snowing every day, a little bit, so it was a little cold and slushy when we were walking around, but it was hiding all of the imperfections, so to speak. The only time I visibly saw like true grit was when we used the subway system, but it just felt like being in New York. Would you look at railing in a subway station? Neither would I. So it is what it is. But way sidetracked. But yeah, so I'm playing those two games. The Eclipse album finally dropped. Let God sort them out. It's got 3 tracks I like.
Look, right, and it's crazy because you put me on, like, I knew it was coming, and usually Apple Music will pop up whenever there's new releases to stuff that I play a lot of, and I love Pusha T, I love Clips, and you hit me up on it, and I was like, man, I didn't realize it dropped yet. I only had one song of the pre-release.
Right.
It was Ace Trumpets, and then when I listened to it, I was like,
Yeah. They got me on the intro song though, like the oh man, what's it called?
the
Birds
birds don't
Cry?
sing, birds don't sing.
Yeah, Birds Don't Sing.
Yeah.
They got me with that one. I was like, oh man, this is pretty good. And then from there it was like hit or miss. Because they got some dope features. They got Kendrick on there. I think he was on oh man, I can't remember the name the track.
That was POV, wasn't it? Was it POV?
Yeah, I think it was POV. Pretty good track, but it's Kendrick is out of steam. I think being beaten down Drake for 2 years, like he's back to his light incense and burning sage phase, right? Like he's very much meditating on this track.
He's not about murder anymore.
Right. He's got out of the system 2 years later. And then there's a track with Tyler the Creator. That one is dope. I like that one.
That surprised me. Yeah, that actually surprised me because I'm not a Tyler the Creator fan, but when I heard it, I was like, man, he's better than I thought he was.
Oh yeah. When he wants to be serious, oh yeah, he's dope. But most of the time he's just full of nonsense. But that's like his thing, right? Like Adult Swim productions and things of that nature. Like he's pretty much he's out there. But yeah, when he wants to be like a real lyricist. He can drop some real lyrics. And then there's one with Nas. It's okay. It's a very Nas like track. Like I was like, okay, it's definitely. There's a couple with Pharrell featured, but yeah, it's only. I really wanted to like Mike Tyson to the face, but it's just dope concept, but it just didn't. They didn't come through with it. So I'm not knocking them. I did getting the rust off.
I think that's what it is, right? And here's the thing. I hate to say this. Like again, I love the clips. I love Pusha T, but Malice back when they were first coming out, like Malice was the one that came hard all the time. I was just like, wow. And I like he's getting back because remember he got out of the game and he was no Malice, right? And then now he's back. And I did notice he doesn't swear as much, right, as he used
I
to.
was
I don't
gonna
know if
ask you, does he not swear at all? Because I like.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because I didn't hear him swear at all, but sometimes I have a hard time because they're brothers, so they sound kind of similar. So sometimes
Very
it's a
much.
hard time getting like who is rapping right now? Is it Malice or is it Pusha T?
Yeah, very much so. They sound very similar. Like I've been listening to them for years, and every once in a while, I'm like, which one is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, so it depends on what you consider a swear word, right? But like there are some times where he says some things that if you're reading it in Apple Music, it's got asterisks. You know what I mean?
Okay, gotcha,
But
gotcha.
like when it comes to cussing, I was just like, man, he's not doing it at all. It seemed like, but yeah, I don't know if that's just his thing, right? Because he found religion, right? So that was
Yeah,
his
I
thing.
was gonna say like maybe that's his thing now, because it's still gritty, right? Still gritty music or whatever, but it seems as though he's like, oh, what is it, Chameleonaire? Like Chameleonaire doesn't swear, or when he used to rap, right? Like Chameleonaire doesn't rap anymore. I think he's got like investment properties and things of that nature. Like he's still making money, like a lot, a lot of money. But I don't think he that was his thing. He didn't swear. Like now, obviously Will Smith didn't swear, but now he does swear. And he also should stop dropping music. Will, stop it. But I digress.
But if they come out with another album, yeah, I think you're on point, man. It's just some rust to be knocked off,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's just knocked some rust.
And then when you sent me that Tiny Desk concert, I was like, oh yeah, because it was the old stuff, right? And I was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah. This is what I remember.
yeah. And then he's not him and Kanye aren't cool anymore. So last Pusha T album, I believe, was produced by Kanye. It's really good, but Kanye is insane now. Or I should say, Ye. They're two different people, right? That's how the radio treats them. Radio doesn't play any Ye stuff, but they'll play some Kanye older stuff, which is funny because you think that he would be blacklisted across the board, but he didn't produce this album. So if a sane Kanye West had produced it, would it have been better? I don't know. Potentially, but we'll never know because Ye is on the off the deep end. That dude's all types of like he's just looking for reasons to get banned. That's how he lives his life.
I think that sometimes. I think he just wants his name out there and
Yeah,
he'll just do and say some stuff. You're just like, come on. I realize you may have some mental health issues, but you knew better than this.
yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But so before we get off, so I did go see Superman. So the new Superman 2025 by James Gunn, In Gun We Trust. I liked it. So I'm not a super. Yeah, everybody knows I'm a Superman hater. I only like the only Superman versions I like are the Injustice Superman and Red Sun Superman. Like I like my Superman to be the bad guy or or at least not on truth and justice side of Superman. This is
I was going to say,
go
because
ahead.
Red Sun Superman doesn't think he's a bad guy. Red
Right,
Sun
right,
Superman
right.
doesn't think he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's just not he's not on the
He's,
US's side.
yeah, he's doing what's good for Mother Russia, right? So he's
Right, right,
doing good for the
exactly.
country.
But yeah, I thought it was really good. I give that a solid 8. Yeah, so Gunn in the same movie could be hit or miss, right? Like he has his own quirky style. Like he's always dope with the action scenes and the way he integrates music and find those really niche properties to characters, right? And highlighting those, which he does in this one. So no, this is spoiler free. But
Did he
he
actually
he
direct it? So real quick, did he actually direct this one, or is he running this? He did. Okay.
yeah. So I the way that I understood it was that he wants to be the standard bearer. Like, hey, this is my vision for the new universe. Like, there'll be other directors, different movies and what have you, but he'll be the Kevin Feige of DC. But he wanted to like no fluff, no pomp and circumstance. Like, here is my vision. Here you go. And I think they do a good job, right? Like, because they don't retell the origin story. Like, within it, you learn, I mean, this version of Superman, which is based on earlier comics, is more of the Golden Age, type situation. You run into other metahumans, and he squares it fairly quickly. Like in the intro, It goes over the timeline. This is when metahumans were introduced. This is when, Superman appeared. This is when he became Superman. This is like, so he has like a real quick banner that explains everything, and then boom, we're in the movie. And it's stuff I've never seen for Superman, right? Because I never really read the comics, so I did and I didn't, right? Like I tried to get on Superman, but usually Superman was when I read other stuff. He would pop up. So I've always been kind of tangentially not a fan. However, I thought they did a really good job. Like the this version, I think is pretty cool. I like the threads he opened up for the different members of the universe or whatever, because he has part of the Justice. They're not the League yet. I think they're like the Justice Club or something like that, Justice Gang. And the way that he frames like because he doesn't go into other cities or towns or states or whatever, but there is a billboard at one point, or not a billboard, there's a road sign to they're in Metropolis, but you can see people headed towards Gotham. So all that stuff is being established, right? He's doing the building, but he's not hyper focused on it, right? It's just like, this is my Superman story. This is, where I'm going with this. But now you know that this is a bigger universe. So I'm interested. I know Supergirl is coming out next year. I want to say next summer is the next one. I'm not sure if he's directing that one or not, though. But I'm interested to see what he's going to do, because so far he started out with a pretty good one. Like this is kind of like his Iron Man, right? And that sets up the universe, and then they go from there. So, can't knock it. I thought it was pretty cool. They had some really cool characters. Mr. Terrific. I've never heard of this character. I've never seen this character in anything. But I watched Tropic Thunder earlier in the week. He sounded just like Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Like if you watch the movie and you think of that, it's gonna make you laugh because he sounds very similar. I was like, did he study Tropic Thunder before he did this? But aside from that, I didn't really have any beef with anything. Like there was a couple of things that I didn't think were funny, but that's every gun movie, right? Like he has his own sense of humor, and he's he does what he does. And there's some cameos. There's some cool cameos from other DC properties that are now canon, right? But are also things he made. So he's like, what I make is the new DCU, but it doesn't necessarily mean everything is the DCU. So I thought it was dope. I would recommend people go check it out. I checked out a 1 o'clock with the boys, 1 o'clock, and it wasn't packed. So I appreciate that. There's a little bit of room in the theater. But if I would have gone for a later showing, I'm sure it'd have been jam packed. So there's that. But I really got nothing coming up next week. It's just me, advertising the book. By the other side of the firewall, you can go to the other side of firewall.com, pick up a copy from me at a discount, or you can go to your bookstore of choice, Amazon, so on and so forth, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. But just pick up a copy, please. If you have a copy, review it. I greatly appreciate that, because that's what adds to visibility. Plus, it gives me feedback, because I already have an idea for the next book, but I'm waiting for feedback because obviously I want to know what works and what doesn't work, so I go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a couple of Ask a CISSP episodes. I just had one with Edgar Vanterpool, really cool. He goes from vehicle mechanic to BISO, Business Information Security Officer. Kind of explains how one led to the other. And I think it's a really good showing of how curiosity and soft skills can allow you to career switch. Not necessarily easily, but they bleed into one another. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. So check that one out. And then the next one I have is with Angela Diaz, and she is a risk officer all-star. Like she breaks down how she got into risk, and what risk is, and how it's used in different industries, and how she's able to take her years of knowledge and basically protect the enterprise from a risk operations standpoint. So definitely check that one out when it should come out next week or the week after. But yeah, this is the new format. I need your feedback. Definitely rate us. Go to all the wherever you're listening to this at, leave some feedback. Let us know how you like it, and then I'll pivot from there. Hit me up at all the websites, or I should say hit us up at all the websites. So the other side of the firewall.com, ramcyber.io, as well as you can find me on LinkedIn at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. Shannon's in incognito mode in real life. So definitely hit us up and leave us your feedback. Stay safe, stay secure.